It was a Sunday morning unlike any other at family worship center. People were filing into the sanctuary with their Bibles, their coffee cups, their tired burdens, and their quiet hopes. The air felt unusually heavy, not with sorrow, but with a strange anticipation, like the whole atmosphere was waiting for something to erupt. And right in the center of it all stood Grace Brumley. She wasn't on stage yet. She wasn't with the worship team warming up. She wasn't even smiling the way she usually did. Instead, she stood near the back, holding her hands together, staring at the platform as if she already felt the storm coming. Behind her, someone whispered, "Grace doesn't look okay today. Did something happen?" Someone else answered, "Maybe she's nervous. Loren is preaching today. They're close." The word hit her harder than it should have. Grace slowly inhaled, feeling her chest tighten. Close didn't begin to describe the emotional battlefield she had been trapped in for months. Loren wasn't just a mentor, a respected preacher, or a longtime family friend. He was the man she admired, the man whose sermons shaped her faith, and recently, though she never dared admit it out loud, the man whose presence made her heart tremble. But Loren Larson was untouchable, married, respected, a spiritual giant. And Grace? She was the girl still trying to find her identity in the shadow of ministry legacies. She closed her eyes for a moment, whispering a prayer only she and God could hear. "Lord, whatever happens today, give me strength to stand." Upstairs in his office, Loren Larson stood in front of the mirror adjusting his tie. But his hands wouldn't stop shaking. He looked older today, not tired but worn, as if he had wrestled with something in his soul all night. And he had. For months he had carried a truth he never wanted to say, a truth he never planned to feel, a truth he prayed against, fasted against, counseled himself against. But love doesn't listen to logic, and forbidden love listens even less. He whispered to himself, "Today, I tell the truth. I have to." He walked toward the window and saw her, Grace, standing alone at the back row with her head bowed. Even from a distance, something about her tugged at him. A gentle voice behind him broke the silence. It was his son, Joseph Larson. "Dad, you okay? You look shaken." Loren swallowed. "Just a heavy message today, son." Joseph didn't buy it, but he didn't push. He placed a hand on his father's shoulder. "Preach what God gave you. The rest will fall into place." If only Joseph knew. This wasn't just a sermon. This was a confession years in the making. The confession that might shatter the Brumleys, break his own family, and change the ministry forever. The worship team took the stage. Grace stepped behind the microphone, but her hands trembled. The lights hit her. The crowd stared. The cameras rolled. Singing had never felt so hard. She tried to ignore the lump in her throat as she sang the opening chorus. "Draw me close to you." Her voice cracked. People thought it was the anointing, but it wasn't the Holy Spirit. It was Loren, sitting on the front row, staring at her with eyes full of something unspoken, something heavy, something dangerous. Grace looked away instantly, gripping the mic. The sanctuary was overflowing, not just with people but with pressure. And when the music ended, the atmosphere shifted. Loren Larson walked toward the pulpit. The place fell silent. This wasn't normal silence. This was the kind of silence that comes before an earthquake. Even the camera zoomed in instinctively. Loren adjusted the microphone, exhaled, and whispered, "Today, I have something personal to say." Grace's heart dropped. Everyone in the church froze. Loren gripped the sides of the pulpit, his knuckles turning white. His voice trembled. "I've preached for over 3 decades, but I've never carried a burden like this." People leaned in. "It's something I've prayed about, fought against, and failed to bury." Grace's breath stopped. Joseph, sitting behind his father, suddenly tensed. Loren continued, "I never planned to feel this. I never wanted to feel this. But love doesn't ask permission. It doesn't wait for the right time or the right circumstances." The sanctuary went dead silent. Grace felt her knees weaken. Her eyes filled with tears that she tried desperately to blink away. Loren took one final breath. His voice cracked. "And today, I cannot hide it anymore." The entire church froze, waiting for the next words. Words that would break families, ministries, and hearts. And then he finally said it. "Grace, I love you." Gasps exploded across the sanctuary. People stood up from their seats. Cameras shook. Voices whispered in panic. "But Grace?" She broke. Tears streamed down her face as the world around her blurred. Her hands covered her mouth. Her heart pounded so loudly she couldn't hear the room anymore. Everything she feared, everything she tried to run from, had just been spoken in front of thousands of people. Live. The moment the words left Loren Larson's mouth, The sanctuary exploded. People gasped. Hands flew to mouths. Whispers roared like a storm. Did he just say, "No way, not Grace. This can't be happening. Is this live? Oh dear God." The camera operators froze. The worship team stared in disbelief. Ushers looked at each other, unsure whether they should intervene or sit still. Never in the history of Family Worship Center had something like this happen. And Grace? She couldn't breathe. Her chest tightened as tears fell uncontrollably. Her vision blurred as she stumbled back from the microphone stand. A woman in the front row cried out, "Somebody help her, she's shaking." But Grace didn't hear anything. The shock was so violent, so overwhelming that it numbed her senses. The room spun. Her ears rang. Her heart pounded so hard it hurt. She felt exposed, vulnerable, cornered, and worst of all, part of her felt the weight of a truth she never admitted, even to herself. She did admire Loren. She did care for him deeply, but this was a confession that would destroy everything. Grace covered her face with her hands, sobbing silently. The church's collective heartbeat trembled with hers. Joseph shot up from his chair so fast the entire worship team jumped. His face turned pale. His hands trembled with anger he had never felt before. "Dad, what did you do?" He rushed toward the pulpit, nearly tripping over a monitor. Loren didn't look at him. His eyes were locked on Grace, helpless, trembling, broken. Joseph grabbed his father's arm sharply. "Dad, stop. You can't do this. Not like this. Not here." Loren finally turned. And Joseph saw it, the heartbreak in his father's eye. This wasn't impulsive. This was a confession Loren had been carrying for years. Joseph's voice cracked with a mix of fear and fury. "You're married. She's young. She trusts you. Do you understand what you just did?" Loren whispered, "I can't live a lie anymore." That sentence hit Joseph like a slap. The church didn't need truth today. The church needed stability. The Brumley family needed protection. His own mother needed honor. Joseph hissed through clenched teeth, "You're going to tear this ministry apart." But Loren barely heard him. His gaze was fixed on Grace, who stood frozen like her entire world had collapsed. Joseph looked at her too, and the instant he did, his heart broke, not because of the confession, but because of the pain written all over her face. Joseph whispered to himself, "Oh God, Grace didn't ask for this." Grace wiped her tears, but they kept coming. Her legs felt weak, as if they no longer belonged to her. She needed to leave. She needed air. She needed to escape the hundreds of eyes piercing into her soul. She stepped back, then again, and again, until she turned and attempted to walk toward the exit. But she didn't get far. Her knees buckled. Someone gasped, "She's going to fall." A worship singer reached out, catching Grace by the arm just before she collapsed. Grace struggled to breathe. I can't, please." Her voice cracked like shattered glass. The singer whispered, "Grace, sit down, sweetheart, breathe." But Grace pulled away. She didn't want to be comforted. She didn't want to be touched. She wanted to disappear. The church wasn't a sanctuary now. It was a spotlight, a cage, a stage she never asked for. She tried to run again, but Loren stepped down from the pulpit. He reached his hand toward her, and in a broken whisper that echoed across the sanctuary, he said, "Grace, please don't go." Grace froze mid-step. Her heart shattered. More tears spilled down her face. "Why did you say that?" she whispered. "Why here? Why now? Why in front of everyone?" Her voice trembled with devastation, not anger. Loren looked at her with pain deep in his eyes. "Because hiding it was killing me." A sob tore through Grace's chest. "But saying it might kill me." At that exact moment, as if orchestrated by divine timing or tragic fate, the side entrance doors swung open. Brian and Jill Brumley entered the sanctuary. They had no idea what they were walking in. They'd only heard through the hallway. Something happened. Something big. Something about Grace. Brian rushed forward, eyes scanning the chaos. Jill clutched her chest the moment she saw Grace crying on stage. "Grace, honey, what happened?" People stepped aside as the Brumleys moved toward the front. Grace's entire body stiffened when she saw her parents. Jill reached her first, placing both hands on her daughter's cheeks. "Grace, talk to me. What's wrong? What happened?" Grace opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Just more tears. Brian turned toward the pulpit. His face changed instantly. His eyes sharpened. His jaw clenched. And slowly, dangerously, he looked at Loren Larson. "Loren, what did you just say?" The sanctuary went silent again. People held their breath. The cameras zoomed in. Loren exhaled, eyes full of guilt. "Brian, Jill, I confess something I should have said long ago." Brian's voice dropped to a whisper that carried more fire than a shout. "Don't you dare say it again." Loren didn't move. Brian stepped closer, his voice trembling with a father's fury. "You tell me right now, what did you confess about my daughter?" Loren lifted his chin, and with the whole church watching in horror, he repeated the words that ruptured everything. "I told her, I love her." Jill gasped. Brian turned pale. Grace collapsed into her mother's arms, sobbing uncontrollably. And for the first time in decades, Family Worship Center was no longer a place of worship, but a battlefield. Just when people thought they had seen enough, she posted the line that turned the entire scandal into something far deeper. "I wasn't the only one." The internet froze. People stared at the screen. Within minutes, hundreds of comments poured in. Speculation spread. Conspiracy theories erupted. Fans panicked. Critics celebrated. The accuser didn't provide names, didn't release details, didn't expose anyone else. But that one sentence was enough to send shockwaves everywhere. Because now, this wasn't about a breakup. This sounded like a pattern, a history, a behavior. Whether true or exaggerated, the impact was devastating. People began asking, what does she mean? Who is she talking about? Why wouldn't Joseph say anything? The scandal was reborn, bigger than before. The moment Loren repeated those devastating words, the sanctuary felt like it lost all its air. Grace sobbed harder. Jill held her tighter. Joseph stood frozen, unable to speak. And Brian Brumley's entire world tilted. His feet moved slowly toward Loren, as if every step grew heavier with disbelief, anger, and heartbreak. He reached the pulpit steps and stared Loren down with a trembling voice. "You said you love my daughter? My daughter?" Loren didn't flinch. He didn't defend. He didn't fight back. He simply lowered his head. "Yes, Brian, I did." Brian's voice cracked, not from anger alone, but from the agony of betrayal. "How long? How long have you felt something for Grace?" The church leaned forward, terrified of the answer. Loren swallowed. "A long time." The congregation gasped again. Jill covered Grace's ears. Joseph looked like he might collapse himself. Brian's eyes watered with rage. "A long time?" He clenched his fist. "She trusted you." His voice grew sharper. "We trusted you." The church had never seen Brian like this. His voice shaking, tears filling his eyes, his whole body trembling. "Loren, she's like a daughter to all of us here. She's young, she's innocent. She believed in your ministry." Brian stepped even closer, face to face with Loren. "And you were supposed to protect her." Loren closed his eyes, as if the truth pierced him deeper than any accusation. "Brian, I never touched her, never crossed a boundary. I swear before God." Brian barked. "But you loved her." The room shook. "You loved her silently. You carried it privately.